Hello to each and every one of you, and welcome back to another story from the Jesus Storybook Bible. I just love this book. I hope you have one of these at your house. If you would like to have one of these, of course, Mom and Dad can order one for you on all sorts of places on the internet. Or you can give me a call or a text message, and we have some at church. And we would love to make sure that that gets to you if you don't already have one. But it is a great Bible. It's actually one of my favorites because there's a lot of different versions, different Bibles for people at different stages, like a woman's Bible, like a man's Bible, like a kid's Bible. But this one, it's great. So anyway, back to our story. Last week, we were with Jesus and his disciples, and they were talking to people. More and more and more people kept coming to wherever Jesus was because they kept hearing about miracles or hearing about this new man who said he was God's son, and they wanted to check him out for themselves. And so many people were learning about God and believing in Jesus, believing that he was God's son. But it didn't stop them from having a lot of worries, a lot of what ifs, and what about. And so Jesus last week spent time talking to them about their worries, telling them that they didn't have to worry, that God loved them so much. But because of sin, because of what happened way back at the beginning with Adam and Eve, we had a problem, a sin problem that kept us from singing creation song. Do you remember what that was? Creation song. It went something like, God made us, he loves us, and he is so pleased with us. Well, if we have sin, and God hates sin, God is like, can't even be around it, then he can't be around us because we have sin. But because of Jesus and Jesus' death on the cross, which those people didn't really understand because it hadn't happened yet, Jesus takes our sin, and now we can sing, God, you are so pleased with me. And that's wonderful. And that was our story from last week, right? So here we have Jesus with his disciples, his followers, his friends, and they have just been talking and talking and talking and talking for, I think, days. They've been traveling weeks, people find them. And in our story, they're going to get a little quiet time. Okay, let's see. Although something happens in that quiet time. Let's take a look and see what else we can learn about God's rescue plan. Okay, our story is called The Captain of the Storm. Doesn't look very stormy. It looks very peaceful to me in this picture. The sun was going down. The air was warm and still. Let's go across the lake, Jesus said to his friends. Jesus had been helping people all day, for days, and now he was actually tired because, of course, he was a person like us. So they left the crowds at the shore and set out in a small little fishing boat. Jesus climbed into the boat to take a nap, a much needed nap, I'm sure. And as soon as his head touched the pillow, he fell fast asleep. Pillow? Maybe a rolled up coat, but pillow? I don't know. Okay, well, let's see. It was a beautiful evening. A gentle breeze rustled the sails. The friends were chatting happily as they headed out into the middle of the lake. Everything was just perfect, just right for a nice, quiet sail. They've probably done this a lot of times. They were fishermen, right? Oh boy, we got to turn the book. Whoa, let's get it. Can you see? Whew. They They were only about halfway across when out of nowhere, whirling winds swept across the lake. Fierce, strong winds like a hurricane. A blinding flash of lightning lit up the sky. Thunder roared right over their heads. The storm blew the water into towering waves that hurled the little boat up, up, up. And you know what comes next. Then down, 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 sent it hurling and crashing back and forth. The fishing boat was blown and buffed and tossed and turned back and forth and up and down and left and right and round and round. And in the middle of the storm, Jesus was sleeping. Wow, how could that be? Now, Jesus' friends had been fishermen all their lives. See, I told you. But in all their years fishing on this very lake, they had never seen a storm like this one. No matter how hard they struggled with their ropes and sails, they just could not control that boat. The storm was way too big for them. Can you see? Well, we're going to show it to you closer in a minute, but oh my goodness. I don't know who that is, maybe Peter. He's barely hanging on. Look at him. Look at him, barely hanging on. But the storm was not too big for Jesus. Help, they screamed. Wake up, quick, Jesus. Jesus opened his eyes. Rescue us, save us. Don't you even care about us? Of course, Jesus cared. And this was the very reason that he had come, because he cared. He wanted to rescue them and save them, not only from a storm, but from their sin. Jesus stood up and he spoke to that storm. He said, hush. And that's all. And the strangest thing happened. Whoops. The wind and the waves recognized Jesus' voice. They had heard it before, of course. It was the same voice that had created them in the very beginning of the world. They listened to Jesus and they did exactly what he said. Immediately that wind stopped. The water calmed down. It glittered innocently in the moonlight and lapped quietly against the sides of the boat, as if nothing at all had ever happened. The little boat bobbed gently up and down, and there was a still deepness and a great quiet everywhere. Then Jesus turned to his wind-torn friends, still pulling themselves together, I'm sure. Why were you scared? He said. Did you forget who I am? Did you believe in your fear instead of believing in me? Jesus' friends were totally quiet as the wind and the waves. And into their heart became a very different kind of storm. Lots of questions swirling around. What kind of man is this? They asked themselves. Even the winds and the waves can obey him. They said that because they still didn't understand. They didn't realize that Jesus was the Son of God. Jesus' friends had been so afraid they had only seen the big waves. They forgot that if Jesus was with them, then they really had nothing to be afraid of, no matter how small their boat or how big the storm. Wow, what a story. I can just feel what it felt like I mean, all that went on in that couple of minutes. 1 minute, calm, restful, out for a little ride, right? Just resting. Fisherman totally in control. Jesus resting. The next minute, storm. No warning, no, oh, look at those dark clouds. Nothing, just boom. Giant storm, waves huge, tossing a boat all around. Now they're professional fishermen. They know how to handle a boat. But they were out of control. Life for them was out of control, right? The next minute, after their help, and Jesus said, hush, silent, right back to calm. But their jackets were all blown over. Their hair, of course, was a disaster. I'm sure there was water in the boat. And they probably looked at each other so totally confused, like, did that just happen? I can't believe it. But Jesus was in control. He was there in the boat the whole time. They just needed to give him control. Not themselves, but give him control. This is an amazing story. The more I think about this story, the more amazed I am. How many times do I forget that Jesus is here with me? He's in my boat, just waiting. Jesus said to them, why were you scared? Did you forget who I am? Did you believe your fear instead of me? I do that. He'd been telling them the whole time. The Bible tells us all the time of who he is. He'd been telling all those people, I'm God's son. They were, yes, yes, yes. His disciples heard all that, but they hadn't really known it yet. They didn't choose to take it and know it. That night, everything changed. They saw it with their own eyes, right? What did they say to Jesus in the middle of the storm? Help! Wake up! Rescue us! Save us! Don't you care about us? We say a lot of silly things when we're scared, right? We may just get angry or just act ridiculous, but we're scared, right? We say things that aren't even true, that we know aren't even true. They had an awful lot to learn about their new friend, Jesus. An awful lot. And there would be a lot more things that would happen with them all together, that they would go through with Jesus. And the more they learned about him, the more they learned who he was, God's son, why he came to earth, to live like a man in a man's body, but God and man together for them. He did it for them. He did it for us. How much he loved them. So much. How much he loves us. And he would do so much more for them than just quiet a storm in the middle of the lake, right? And he does that for us. The more time we spend with Jesus, the more time we read his word and the stories of things that happen to other people that we can learn the lesson from, the more we trust him. Just like the disciples will learn to totally trust Jesus, no matter what. We can learn that our faith will grow too, so that when we have storms in our life, storms like sadness or loneliness or worry or fear, right? We don't have to worry about that. We can give it to Jesus. We don't have to say, don't you even care, God, what happens to me? Because he does. And we know that we can trust him. But he's waiting to take control of our lives and to help us with all of our storms. Let's take a look at our memory verse that we've been working on. That's a good reminder. The faithful love of the Lord, does it ever end? Never. Never, ever ends. His mercy, his rescue plan for us never ceases, never ends. No matter what we do, his rescue plan is there for us. So super great is his faithfulness. God is faithful, faithful, faithful. That means he won't quit, won't give up. So great is his faithfulness. And his mercy begins fresh each morning. It doesn't wear out. The storm isn't too big. It's there 100% for us every morning. And where do we find this verse in the Bible? In the Old Testament, in a book that I just love to say, Lamentations. Let me hear you say it. Lamentations 3:22 and 23. And that's there for us. Just like each piece of this story is there for you. Maybe you need this story because you need to trust Jesus more. Maybe you need this story because you need to know that he cares about you so very much. And maybe you need this story today because you just need to know that Jesus is in charge and he's just waiting. He's waiting to take over and help you with everything you have in your life. So that's why these stories are in the Bible, and we just love to explore them together. I love to see what God has for us each week. So let's pray and thank him. Dear Lord, you are such a mighty God that, Lord, you care about the littlest things in our lives that are big, big storms to us. But Lord, you care about loving us and showing us that you are there for us. So thank you for taking those storms. Thank you for being able to say hush and have those storms calm right down for us. Lord, I don't know all the different things that are going on in everyone's lives, the ups and the downs, but Lord, you just know each one and you take control of those. So I thank you. I pray for protection and for joy and happiness for each one that's listening today. And Lord, for all those that aren't able to listen, we just love you and we thank you for each one. Amen. Well, thanks again. I just do love this time. I know I say it a lot. And this verse I'm going to keep forever buried in my heart. And I hope that you will do the same. And I look forward to seeing you all next time. So you have a great week. I love you all.